are going to move on to layout number 3. And layout number 3 is just a simple vertical strip, and we are going to be using the new paper from the annual catalog. Now, this paper is brand new. It will be launching on the 6th of May, so that's Tuesday, and it is called Floral Impressions. Crushed curry, darling duckling, fresh freesia, garden green, misty moonlight, old olive, peach pie, pecan pie, pool party, pretty in pink, and strawberry slush. So this has 2 of the new in colors, darling duckling and strawberry slush, as part of the paper pack. So let's just take a look at this really quickly before we start talking about the layout. Okay, so it has this really beautiful rainbow of flowers and leaves that are the first paper, and then the second side of these are really neutral. They're very small patterns. They read very neutral or very much like a solid. So you've got one really bold and then the solid on the other side. This one, again, very vertical pattern. Everything is going in a vertical direction. Really cool colors. Again, on the other side is the fresh freesia. Looks and reads solid. Then we've got another vertical pattern of the leaves with the sunflowers almost. And this is the pool party. It has little circles. Then we have an all-over print of the sunflowers or daisies. I'm not sure. I think these might supposed to be daisies. And then you've got the green, garden green. The next paper, again, another very vertical type of paper with a strawberry slush, and this pattern is a little bit more in your face as far as the tone-on-tone patterns versus some of the other ones, but really cool pattern there. And then we have the all-over flower, and then this has got a dash and dot pattern on the back. So as you can see, quite a lot of variety of large patterns and orientation patterns, and then a lot of those really much more solid or read more solid or more muted patterns with the rest of the collection. So really good front and backs that you can use if you want bold patterns or if you want to have a more muted pattern on the back. Okay, so now that we've looked at those papers, what I wanted to do is come back to the sketch. So you notice that I have just these really simple vertical pieces here, and they're 2 by 10. And when I looked at this, I decided that what I thought might turn out really cool is I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got at least 5 that I can work with here, and I might pull a 6th. But at 2 inches, so if we just take this and put this on my Versamat, at 2 inches, I'm going to get this really cool rainbow option here. And so I thought that that might be a cool way to take these vertical stripes and kind of take them to the next level. And with such a directional paper, I can get what I think is going to be a really cool pattern on it. So that was my plan, is to do that. So the first thing we need to do is take this and we need to do the cuts on it at the 2 inch and 10 inch. So we're going to go ahead and do that part first. Again, you can tell I have not necessarily planned this out 100%. I have some ideas, and I'm going to hopefully do my best to not be too long with this one. But you can see I've got a nice dark pinkish red in my first 2 inches. And then I go to sort of more of that pink orange peach color in the next 2 inches. And then we end up with the yellows. And we'll decide if we're going to use, I'm going to just cut these all in 2 inches, and then we'll decide which ones we're going to use. Because I might not use this green one. I might skip this green one and use the other 2. Oh, we lost another light. Okay. All right, and this should be the last 2 inches. Yep, perfect. Okay, so now we've got these strips. So now we're going to cut these down to 10 inches. So that is our next. So we're going to go down, we're going to go to 10 inches, and we're going to cut these down. And then we've got a nice 2x2 square, essentially, that we can use on something else. So cut this guy down. All right. And then the other thing I was thinking of doing with this, just to give it a little bit more weight, is to add, I think we're going to hold on this one because I'm not sure I'm going to use that one, and I don't necessarily want to cut it if I don't have to. I think I want all of the flowers and not the greenery. So we're just going to leave that one, and we'll cut the rest of these. So what I was thinking I might do is cut cardstock to go behind this, right? So this is kind of the layout. Is that right? No, I think it goes like this. Yeah, it goes like that. So what I was thinking is I was going to take the cardstock and I was going to see which cardstocks I could use to back these that might give it some more fun and dimension. So my thought was, like, I could take this piece and back that one. I think I need a darker color for this one. And then I needed a yellow, a blue, and a purple. But I do think that this one could work. This one could work. Okay, so I'm going to grab my rosy, which I think is going to be the best color for the red one. Just see. Yep, the rosy will work good with that. And then on the yellow, I'm thinking, I'm not sure if that one works. I was thinking honey butter again, but I'm not sure about honey butter. No, that does nothing for it. I'm just looking. I tried shortbread. Lemonade, I think, is going to be too yellow. Yeah, that's not going to work. Lemonade's not the right color. Lemonade's not the right color. Okay, I think that's all my yellows. So let me just see. So that's honey butter. I think that should work. Okay, so on the blue, let me just check. I'm gonna look at the pumpkin pie and just decide if I like the pumpkin pie on this one. I think I like the pumpkin pie better. Okay, so we're gonna do the pumpkin pie on that. And then I need a blue and a purple. So I don't, like I said, I'm using up my colors that I have in my stash. I am not trying to use, I don't have a whole lot of Stampin' Up colors, so that's why I am I'm going through my stash to decide what color I want to use. Okay, so That's too bright. Okay, so I think that would work. Okay, so there we go. That works for that one. So the last color I have is this color, and we're gonna see what we can find. Because it's a pinky purple, and it's not quite, that might work. Mulberry might work. Mulberry. Because royal is too bright. Yeah, royal is too bright, but periwinkle is too blue. And wisteria is too blue. We need more of a pink color, pinky purple. And mulberry looks like the only one that I've got. Oh wait, that might work. Okay, we're gonna go back into the vault, and we're gonna grab sangria. Okay, all right. So I think we've got our colors. There we go. So we're not going to use this one. We're going to use Rosy, Old Close to My Heart color, Sapphire, Old Close to My Heart color, and Sangria, Old Close to My Heart color. And we are going to use Pretty in Pink from the In Colors, and we're going to use Peach Pie from the In Colors. And I think that will give us a really nice combination to frame these guys out. So these are 2 by 10, and so I need to cut these pieces. I think I want a good solid border around them. So I think we're going to do 2.5 by 10.5. I think that'll give us a nice 1/4 inch border. I don't think we want more than that. So let's do 2.5. We'll cut this first one and decide if we want it bigger than that. 2.5 by 10.5. Okay, and let's grab this, and we're just gonna make sure that we like the size of that border. That's interesting. Did I do 10.5? It feels like that's longer. 10.5. Did I do 2.5? Oh, I did 2 1/4. I did 2 1/4. I think we need the half. I think we want the bigger border. Yeah. Okay, so pay attention to your numbers. I'm getting punchy, it sounds like. Cutting things wrong. 2.5 by 10.5. Okay, now let's see. Just double checking which one I like better before I cut any more paper. If I like the thinner border or if I like the thicker border. I actually think I like the thinner border. I think the paper gets lost on the thicker border. I think there's too much. Okay, so we're going to do 2 1/4 by 10 1/4. That's what we're going to end up with. So we're going to trim this guy down another 1/4 inch. Okay, 2 1/4, 10 1/4. That's our numbers. So 2 1/4 by 10 1/4. Okay, so that was Sapphire. This is Mulberry. Or sorry, this is Sangria. I love this color. That's one of my favorite colors from Close to My Heart. I think this is a gorgeous, rich color. I think it's probably close to Berry Burst from a Stampin' Up color perspective. But I think it's just a beautiful color. Okay, so 2 1/4, 10 1/4. All right, and one last one, which is Pretty in Pink. Oops. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna have a lot of cleaning up to do in my office. Not today. That's gonna have to wait till tomorrow. I can already tell. I'm tired. I'm making mistakes and cuts and everything, and I can tell. I'm tired. But that's okay. That's okay. Okay, I'm gonna just put these all back in the bag and I'll deal with them later. I'm gonna take our papers and get those out of the way as well. Hopefully I didn't grab all of my base pages. There we go. I need my base pages, but we're gonna just take this and put it away and get it out of the way a little bit for right now. Okay. Okay, so this I don't need as well. Okay, so there we go, there we go, there we go. Okay. Perfect. So let's go ahead and put our pieces together and then we can start playing with the layout. So let's just get all the right pieces belonging to the right colorways. That's the wrong one. That one goes with this one. And wait. This goes with this one. Sorry. I'm getting my colors all mixed up here. There we go. Okay, so now let's adhere these down. So I do find that you can definitely find colors that are close enough from your stash to match. I know it's ideal to have the same color throughout, but I do feel like it is important that people use up what they have as well. So part of this is showing how you can use old with new and how you can utilize your own inventory and make things work. Because we do spend a lot as crafters buying things, and I really want people to use what they buy. Like I said at the beginning of this, styles change. Things that you liked 5 years ago, you might not like now. So it's better to use what you have when you get it, when you like it. Sorry, I'm turning it over to the dark side, or the true side of Rosie. Because I think that you should, just double checking because I might need to change this guy now that I'm looking at it. That you really do utilize, especially your consumable supplies. As soon as I can't tell which is light and which is dark. This is one, there is no difference. Okay. That uses, the consumable supplies that you have. Because, like I said, there are things I look back in my stash where I go, oh, yeah, not something that I really like anymore. And maybe I liked it at the beginning, or maybe I saw a really cool idea with it, and then I bought it, but then I didn't actually use it. So, make use of the money that you spend on your supplies, and really try. Sorry, I put everything on the light side, and I wanted it on the true side. Try to spend time and use up those consumables like the papers, because I can guarantee you that styles come back. But I can also guarantee you that it might not be a style that you like anymore when it does come back. And so, just attempting to use up what you bought is really, really important in my mind. Okay. So there we go. Okay, so now we've got our colors. Let's see. Making sure I've got this going all in the right direction. Like that. Okay, so let's, and we didn't use the green. Remember, I did pull out the green from this, so we're going to go ahead and start putting some things together here. Okay, so let's put this down. And let's do this one. Hopefully my adhesive is still hanging in there. Okay, so these two go on this side, and then on this side is going to be these three, like that. Oh, I think that looks good. Oh, I like that. Okay, so we're just going to lay our photos out. I did not put these on photo placeholders yet because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I wasn't sure if I was going to add those on or not. And then what I did is 3 across here. So looking at this, I can guarantee I actually need something on these photos. So I do need to create some photo mats for these. So the question is, what is going to be the best photo mat? So I'm going to just grab the black and see if I like that. Because I had all those black pieces left over, remember? Yeah, we'll do this. So I had a bunch of black pieces that I cut, and maybe I can reuse them here. If I don't think it takes away from the pictures, or from the pattern paper. And just looking at it, just objectively right now, I'm seeing that this actually should work really well. The black will work just fine with these. So I think we will do black photo mats, and one of them's already cut. So we're going to just stick this guy down because we have one that's cut perfectly for a 4x6. And then we have another one that's cut perfectly for a 3x4. So we can utilize those. And oops, that is crooked. There we go. And then this one we're going to cut down. This is a 4x6, but I need to cut it down. Just double check that it's 4 1/4. And it's a little less than 4 1/4. So it's 6. Do 6 here, and that should work. I don't know if that will fit this one. No, that's a little too small because that had both the 4x6 and the 3 1/4 or 3x4 on it. So this one, like so. Okay, so these pieces I can't use, so let's go grab a couple more. Okay, so this one I need, let me just see this, the width of this piece. Okay, we're going to just trim this down to 4 1/4, take a little smidge off of that, and then we'll do 3x4, 3 1/4. Do 2 of those. Okay, And then this is not big enough, so we need one more piece so that we can do all right, so this is okay, so this is going to be 6 1/4. By 4 1/4. Okay. All right, I think we've got all of our mats cut. And then on this one, again, title-wise, I'm not sure what I'm going to put as the title yet, so we probably won't put a title on this one, and I'll finish that up after the live, because you don't want to watch me cut letters. But again, I'll probably use the alphabet a la mode, because the letters are bigger and will be will cover up some of the, will be a nice big space management, or space, not filler, but space, handling the space. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to figure out my placement. Okay, so we've got our photo mats, we've got our pieces, and so what I think I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to come in 1/4 of an inch, or sorry, 1/2 of an inch from the right hand side. So I've got a little bit of a white piece here, and then on this one, so that ends at so this ends at, well, this is what, 1 2 2 3/4. So I think I want to do 1/2 an inch. So I'm going to come in at so I'm going to come in at the 9 1/4 here, down at the bottom. Again, giving that same 1/4 inch gap both between here and here, like that. That doesn't look straight. There we go. Like that. Okay. And then I can lay my pictures. Oh, this is definitely not straight. I can definitely tell that one's not straight. We need to fix that. That will bother me. I'm not too afraid of things not being straight, but boy, when it's that obviously not straight, that does bother me. Okay, and then we've got this guy here, like that. Okay, so same thing on this side. I'm going to do 1/4 inch over, no, 1/2 an inch. 1/2 an inch here. And then from the top, I'm going to come over, and I'm going to be at 3 1/4. And since I have a 3rd stripe on this side, I'm going to be at 6 1/4. So again, I'm just leaving a 1/2 inch in between each of these. This doesn't look straight. Did I get my numbers wrong? Yeah, that's a 1/2. Sorry, I think I got my numbers wrong. I think this is at 6. This is at 6. The 3rd one is at 6, not 6 1/4. I was going to say my spacing does not look even. Okay, so 1/2 an inch over from the left. So that takes it to 2 3/4. Then the next one's going to start at 3 1/4 and go to 5 1/2, and then 6 to 8.25. So hopefully that all makes sense. And then we have our 2 pieces here that are 2 pictures, which we are going to put over here on this side. Again, this one is super crooked. Boy, I am struggling with my pictures being straight on their mats. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that's going to be our picture layout. And then the title will go up here. And we will have our embellishments around. Okay, so bringing back in my sketch, you'll notice that I have some circles here. And the thought is that this could be like a subtitle or a date or something like that. And what I want to think about doing is I really want to use the Spotlight on Nature. This is a die set that is retiring. Spotlight on Nature is retiring, and I'm sad. This one I am sad about because I think this one is a super usable set, but the Stylish Shapes does have another nice circle that could be used. So I'm a little bit, I'm just trying to decide what I want to do here. Because none of my scraps are big enough. I want to look at the paper again and see if I have a good, like that. I'm just trying to think of what color I could pull in here that would work with this Stylish Shapes. I really like the idea of pulling in this green. And so I think this pattern might be a little bit too much with that green. It kind of needs to be a solid. The other green that I have is this one, but I really like the brighter garden green compared to the old olive. So what I think I might do is I think I might use the Stylish Shapes instead. And we're going to cut a circle, the largest circle of the Stylish Shapes out of this. Okay, and this circle is, I need to cut this strip at just over 3.25, it looks like. Let's just take a look and see if we lay this down, if we can get away with 3.25. 3.25. Yeah, 3.25. I should be able to get away with 3.25. Again, just to save paper, I don't want to cut something that's too big. Okay. So we're going to take this and we're going to run it through our die cutter. And then we're going to need a white as well piece. So I'm hoping this works out, that this looks good. The nice thing is that 3.25 fits on this die or on this plate perfectly. You can go up to 3.5, but it's a little bit tight on 3.5. So, all right. Okay, so we're going to run this through my machine and we're going to see how this looks. All right. Okay. Yes, this is how I create, by the way. This mess where I lay things on top of each other is how I create. It's not, I wish I could say that I did something different, but I don't. This is kind of the way I create. Okay, so there we go. There's that. So now I need a white one. Now I wonder if I could do white, if that would work. No, that's the wrong one. It's the wrong size. that's too small. Sorry, I'm just looking through my dies to decide which circle I want to use. Because what I want to do is I want to create an inner circle like that. And I was thinking I might want to do something a little different from the dots and dashes. So next size down, let me just see if this one fits. This is well, it's only white cardstock. Let's give it a go. That's kind of my philosophy on white and black. Try it. If you don't like it, it's only white cardstock. And generally I have a lot of the white. It's only on the colored cardstock that I tend to be a little bit more picky about what I'm going to cut. Just because it is more expensive. Okay, so let's just take this. Let's see. Layer these two. Yeah, that'll work. That works. Okay, so that was a spotlight on nature die that I just used. Excuse me. Okay, so I do have a bunch of things I need to sort of punch out from this because I didn't clean out my die before I used it. So there's a bunch of leftover little pieces, so I'm going to just quickly punch those guys out. Okay. And we've got that. Okay, I like that. Okay, so then that's going to go here. So that's where we brought in the green that we didn't use before. And then we'll have green over here for the leaves. So I probably will actually just use the same pattern paper maybe for the leaves that are part of this Impressions A Bloom stamp set. There's a bunch of leaves, so I can do a bunch of cutting out of leaves using that same paper, which I tend to like to do. Okay, so now we've got to see where my other little pieces are for this one. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I already took a couple of dies. So the way that these dies work is there's a outside die, there's an inside die, and you can essentially just using the paper, you can get this sort of textured flower. It does feel a little flat to me like this. So from my perspective, I almost think like this does need the stamping in order for it to look the best. Now the thing I didn't test out yet is, let's see if this paper matches any of the dies. I don't think it does. But we're going to just do a quick test because I didn't think about this before. So I was just wondering if any of these, no, I don't think they do. Like, you probably could make it work and it would probably be okay, but it doesn't look like they are matched to actually cut out the papers, because they won't work on this paper, and the other papers, they're too close together. So I'm going to just double check that one last time, just looking at them. Yeah, just looking at this paper, it does not look like the dies will work officially to cut out any of the paper that is in this collection. So there are stamps that definitely go with this, and we've got, let me just see what I did with this. Let's just clean this up a little bit, and maybe we'll give this a try. Again, I apologize, not a whole lot of planning on my part for this. Let's see, this guy. The only thing I don't like about these two stamp sets, these Be Mine stamp sets, is that there's a lot of pieces that are similar. And so you got to remember which one goes to which stamp set. And I can't say that I'm probably going to remember correctly. Okay, so this one, let's open this guy up. Just trying to clean this up a little bit before we stamp again. All right. Yeah, see, none of these are going to fit where they're supposed to go. There we go. Get some faces off of here. Now we got wings. Okay, I have no idea where all these pieces went. I'm going to have to clean this up. Organize it after. Okay, get those out of the way. Okay, so let's see. We will take these, again, these I will probably just put in the stamp case so that they're there for the next time that I want to use it. And then I've got this piece here from where I stamped. And I'm going to add some adhesive to the back of this so it stays in my little thing together. And we're going to match up some of our flowers here. So I'm not going to do this. This is a 2 stamp set, so there's a solid and there is a detailed. But because I did this on cardstock and cut it out already, I'm not going to. I'm just seeing. I thought this was going to fit, but this doesn't look like it is. Am I just missing it? Am I missing how it goes? Okay, we're going to put that one back. We're going to try the other 2. Because maybe I'm just not getting it here. Okay, this one. Once you know which direction it goes, it's a whole lot easier. But see, that doesn't look like that fits either. But no, I guess it does. That one does fit, just like that. Okay, this one. Definitely is more this guy. Okay. Oops. There we go. Got to be careful that they don't stick to your hand as you are placing them down. That's the biggest issue I find, sticking to my hand. Okay, so let's just try this one more time, because I feel like maybe it does fit, but I wasn't. Yeah, okay, so it does. There we go. Okay, so again, the technique is that you get these centered where they belong in your piece, the piece that you die cut out. And then you bring your lid down and you pick up the stamps. You just want to make sure that your piece is staying in the spot where you lifted it up. So I'm taking these die cuts and I'm going to go ahead and just put a tad bit of adhesive on them. to stick them down. And then we're going to stamp this. If we can get the thing in the right spot. There we go. And we're going to see how this turns out. Because we are already way over time. It's already, yeah, way over time. Okay, so the question is what color? So this is Pretty in Pink. I probably could do Pretty in Pink, but I feel like maybe I want to do a slightly darker color. So maybe Melon Mambo, which is one of the colors that is part of this set. So it's a little bit more of a color difference. And we're going to go ahead and give this a try. Again, testing it out. So inking it up. It's a pretty juicy pad. I'm going to close that so I don't get ink everywhere. And we are going to press this down. Okay. So that did not work the way I wanted it to. I will do one more pass, but I'm pretty sure I do not like these. This is a pretty intense color. I think it would work if I did this just as, if I hadn't die cut out the two pieces. But I can tell from here that this, because it's got the centerpiece has been cut out, that I really don't like how that looks. I might be able to use them underneath something, but I don't like the cutouts or the texturing that was put on it. So I think it's one or the other, but not both for me. So with that, that kind of throws me into, okay, what do I do next? Because otherwise you guys are going to have to sit here and watch me die cut a whole lot of things that take a lot of time. And I don't want to keep you here any longer. And I want to make sure that I finish enough of this layout for you to be able to see kind of where it's going. And then I can show you it at the end with it being finished. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take this. We're going to, again, use our design, and we are going to put our pictures on, and then I will come back and I will do the embellishments later. Because I think that that's, again, I'm going to have to cut a whole lot of things at this point, and I don't want to have people have to sit here and watch me cut a bunch of things. I'll do a few, but then we'll finish off as a picture later. So, oops, I lost another light, which is not good. Let's see if we can get some lights back here. Nope, that one's not going to stay on. I think we've lost all our lights, which is another reason maybe that we need to stop. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to pop all these pictures up on 3D foam tape. Because I do want all of these to have some elevation to them. And so we'll get that done. And remember, when I do foam tape, I make sure that I leave spaces on the top and bottom and on the sides so that I can stick things behind these pictures as well. So don't forget that that's something that you want to do when you're using 3D foam tape. Okay, so here we go. Get these down. And maybe what I'll do is if I get time tomorrow, maybe I'll come back with another live tomorrow after I've had a chance to put all of, not put all of this together, but a chance for me to die cut a bunch of things, since that is not working. And then we can do the embellishments tomorrow. Maybe that's what I'll do, because I don't know, I have to get ready to go somewhere tonight as well. And so I don't know if I'm going to have time to do this evening. Okay, I think I like it there. Okay, so this is going to just slide under here like that. And again, I'm going to use this as another place to put a title or to put a date or something like that. And then the title will go up here, so I can also maybe die cut out my title to put up there and to finish off the other one. I think that might be what we do. Okay. Here we go. One of the things is I have those 2x2 squares as well that I might be able to die cut the flowers out of, and just not necessarily pay attention to the flower itself, but just that I'm using those little 2x2 pieces. Might have to think about that. All right. Well, here we go. This is going to be the most plain of all three to start with, and hopefully we can finish it up tomorrow. Once I get all the die cuts done, which, like I said, die cutting does take a significant amount of time, especially when you only have one die for each thing, the putting of it together to get it to look complete won't take us that much time. That doesn't really take time. Once you've got all the die cuts and you know what you want, that's really straightforward. Okay, so we're going to come to about there for that one. Again, you notice I'm not pushing down too hard until I get all of them on, just so that I make sure that I'm happy with the spacing. That one is not even. Okay. And all right, so there is, with this sketch, we have some clusters that we're going to make. And what I decided yesterday is that we definitely want to cluster up here with this space. I think I want a cluster up here, and I want a cluster down here. I'm not going to put a cluster here because I feel like it will actually interfere with the pattern paper, and I've got this white space over here. So we needed to get 3 clusters, and I'm using the companion stamp and die set. So the stamp set's Impressions of Bloom. Again, this is launching on Tuesday. And then we have the dies. And what I did yesterday is I had done a little bit of stamping. I shouldn't say that. I had done a die cut, and then I thought that maybe I would do the stamping together with you yesterday. But what it turned out was, we were running out of time. Well, so much for that neat mess that I had. And I needed to get a whole bunch more flowers. And die cutting on screen is very, very boring. So what I did is I went ahead and I created a bunch of different styles of die cuts. So I've got some here in white that we're going to stamp. I have some in the patterned or the colored cardstock, and then I have some that are the way this die set works is that there's an internal and there's an external cut. And so Let me just take 2 of these out of here just to show you again. So this does the outside, but you can also use an inside piece here, and it will create, if I get this lined up correctly, it will create here's this one. It will create cuts in the cardstock to make it look like there's lines to give it dimension. Then I stamped on top of that, and I didn't really like the the stamping on top of the cut lines. It looks a little bit better now that it has dried. Still not my favorite. So I felt like this was better, because what you'll notice is that the way the stamp set is designed, the stamp set has these dots that are in the stamp that creates the illusion of depth by creating shading. And if you look at it here, because those lines are there, what it does to me is it just looks a little bit messy. Now, again, this is all personal preference. Here's another example of that one, of one of them with the striations cut into it and then stamped on top. Here's another one with just the stamping, and then one with the striations. So, I mean, they don't look bad now that I'm looking at them sort of after our session yesterday. But I do feel like, I think you should go one way or the other. What might work better is to stamp on the solid. So there is a solid stamp, and then do the inside cuts. So that might work a little better. I didn't try that as of yet. I might try that later, probably not today, but it might work better to do a solid and then add the inside cuts. Again, I would do that on white if I was going to do that. So, okay, so what does that mean for today? So for today, what I wanted to do is, again, I wanted to show you my setup for stamping. We're going to stamp a bunch of these, and then what we're going to do is we're going to create those clusters to finish this up. And then depending on time, we're going to determine whether or not I put the title on this one or not. Again, the title is meant to go up here, but I haven't cut that out yet. All right, so I'm using just this rubber tray that was part of the glass mat. If you bought the glass mat, I'm housing everything on that for the most part. I do have some stems and greenery over on the right. All right, so let's talk about this jig setup. So I'm going to just move this out of the way so there's a little bit less interference of stuff going on, and we're going to talk about this setup. All right, so as I mentioned yesterday, what I did is I did lay out, when I did my first cuts of these flowers, I laid it out in a way that I could save this piece of paper to use as a guide. I have put a little bit of adhesive on it, stuck it down, put it into the corner, and then what I did is I laid my stamps in those holes. Now this happens to be the stamp that has the center pieces that give you that depth and dimension, but like I said, there is also a solid stamp for each of these flowers, which hopefully you can kind of see here. And so you can definitely use the solid and then overlay, and we might do that here just to show you those two examples. But I was going to just start and walk through how we do this. So we're going to take and in this case we're going to take our colored cardstock. This happens to be peach pie. We're going to put a little bit of adhesive on the back of this, and then we are going to fit it into our piece here. So we're going to grab one of the smaller ones here, do the same thing. So we want to fit that in here, and then we'll take one of the larger ones. One of the other things that I found with Stampin' Up, different than close to my heart, is that because there's so many more dies that come with the Stampin' Up die set, I do feel like it does help if once you get a new die that you do a whole bunch of die cuts and see how they go together. That is something that I intend to do more this year. I did not do it last year, but I'm still trying to learn how all the dies fit together themselves, and then how they correlate to the stamp sets, if they do. With Close to My Heart, the stamp sets and the dies were sort of in tandem together. They had a relationship. That's not always true with the Stampin' Up dies. There are usually a number of dies that really are extra dies that don't necessarily go hand in hand with the stamp set. So, okay. So I'm going to take Peach Pie because this is Peach Pie, and I'm just going to do a tone on tone. And so I'm going to go direct to the stamps here because they're set up in my stamp platform. And again, this will work with any stamp platform. And then I'm going to push that down. And I use a little, I don't know what this is. This is a little thing that goes with stamp platforms that you can buy separately. I don't like pushing down. I feel like this helps me make a better impression. And then I can decide if that is a good enough impression or if I want to do another stamp. Now for me, I think that this is perfectly fine, right? There is nothing wrong with this at all. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take that, pull these guys out. And sometimes it's easier if you have a pair of tweezers to get underneath and lift it up. I do find that sometimes it's hard because we're using the adhesive. That just helps us make sure that they don't move if we have to do a second stamp. All right, I'm losing hair in my adhesive there. So let's just do that one more time. We've got a bunch of these. The other thing that's really nice about this is that if you have to make a lot of these assembly line, especially when you're doing flowers and you know that you need big clusters of flowers for your layout or for your card, this is almost a perfect way to do this because I've got a little bit of ink here that I want to remove so I don't get it all over things. This is a perfect way to create an assembly line. So you do all your die cutting and then you come in and you can just stick your die cut pieces into your setup here. This is being difficult. And you can just go boom, 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 and get the dies that you cut stamped really quickly. I do think this is a little bit faster than doing it the other way, which is you stamp them and then you create, again, a template that will allow you to die cut them. I think that this method is definitely faster to be able to get your pieces stamped and ready for assembly. And the other nice thing is once you do this, once you've done like a number of these like I'm doing, depending on how many I end up using on the layout, I can just stick these in a little Ziploc bag, stick it with the stamp set or with the die set, depending on how I'm storing things, and I can have those ready for another project. So I don't have to spend time doing that setup again. I can just start creating. So it's another good reason that I think spending some time with the dies that you get. For some reason I'm a little bit off here. I must have shifted. That's okay. They're flowers. No one's going to notice. maybe we won't use these because it looks like I shifted this. I have to make sure that it's in the corner and I'm talking at the same time that I am trying to do this. So always make sure that you are aligned in your corner so that you actually get a good impression. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to switch over to the next color here. I've got a couple of these still. I did Melon Mambo for the last set. I think I'm going to change this set. So this was Peach Pie. I think I'm going to change this to, I'm pretty sure this is Pretty in Pink color. So I think we're going to do a lighter color here. Okay, so let's clean up our stamp. Get the Melon Mambo or the pecan pie. No, peach pie. This was peach pie. Just using a stamp chamois that's wet. Making sure that's in the corner. And make sure that's dry. Blowing on it a little. And we're going to do a couple of these in Pretty in Pink. And that looks pretty good. So we've got some that are sort of a darker color and some that are a lighter color here. Okay, so just to show you, one of these is Melon Mambo. This is Melon Mambo, and that's Pretty in Pink. So again, just a slight variation. All right, so we need to get these guys out. And the next ones we're going to do is we're going to just do a couple of these. And this is where I think we're gonna do a shift. So we're gonna clean this stamp up, and we're gonna do the two-tone stamping, or the two-step stamping, I should say. Actually, you know what? We'll start with this one, and then we will do the other one because we're gonna do the second generation. So this actually works better. Let's stick with this. So we're going to do this as a as first generation inking to do the centers here. Let me just grab a couple of these and put this in. And this time we are going to go with Blueberry Bushel. So Blueberry Bushel is one of the colors of in this particular set. So we're going to go ahead and ink these guys up. So I think they were just a little bit wet, but there we go. Make sure that we're in our corner since we made that mistake. Like this. And we could leave these just like this. These actually look really pretty just like this, but we're going to do the two-step stamping, and we're going to just put these aside. So we're going to do a couple more of these two-step stamps. And then I might do one other color as well. So I know I'm spending a lot of time on the stamping side, but I haven't really spent a lot of time talking about that for, you know, how you can do this, how you can make it simpler for you to get your things, use your stamps and your dies. I know sometimes we buy these things and we don't always use them to the full advantage that we could. And so part of what I wanted to do today, since I would needed to finish this up anyway, was to show you some of these tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. All right, so make sure that's in the corner. I'm going to ink these guys up. Oops. And bring this down. And this is going to give us some variety in our clusters as we create the clusters, because I don't think it'll take us that long to actually create the clusters themselves. It's more about the amount of time it does take to like prep all of this, as you can see. And so sometimes it's kind of like in cooking, getting all the ingredients together, getting everything organized, and then eventually you get to decorate, right? It's not always, depends on who you are, depends on how you like to do things, but sometimes, you know, getting all the ingredients together when you're cooking isn't the fun part. You know, doing all the cutting and all of the measuring and all of that, that's not the part that's fun for people sometimes. All right, so there, got those. And get this guy. Just trying to decide if I want another color here. I'm going to look at the colors again that were part of this particular. So we've got Fresh Freesia, Garden Green, Misty Moonlight. Oh, okay, it was Misty Moonlight. It wasn't a Blueberry Bushel, but I like the Blueberry Bushel. I think that's a nice bright color. I'm kind of surprised that's not there. Pretty in Pink. Peach Pie. I think Fresh Freesia is the only one which is a color that I do not have. Okay, I think we'll just leave maybe Berry Burst. Maybe we'll do a Berry Burst. Let's do a Berry Burst and see if we like it. Again, a lot of these colors are, you know, are complementary to each other. So even though you might not have the exact color, there's probably a color in the palette that's close or a cousin to the colors that are in the palette of the paper. And so you can most likely find something that will look complementary to it. So again, I'm just cleaning this up because Blueberry Bushel is quite a dark color. And I want to make sure that, let's close this up, that I don't, you want to make sure your stamps are dry before you put ink on them. Now my cloth is not super wet, but it's wet enough that it could leave a residue on the stamp that we want to make sure that we are drying off. Otherwise the ink will bubble or will be not as intense. Okay, so those look kind of nice. I kind of like those. So let's go ahead. We've got one more. So let's do one more of these. And then in this color way. And like I said, we'll just decide which ones we want to use when we build the clusters, because we might choose to do something different. Okay, so we'll do this, and then we're going to do that other stamping, which is the second generation stamping. On these. We might leave a couple of them just like they are as well, so that is also an option. Okay, there we go. So we'll get these guys out, and then we're going to switch out our stamp, and we're going to do just a little bit more stamping here. Okay, clean these guys up so I don't get ink all over my hands. And yes, my stamps are stained, and that's fine. Anytime you use inks that have a lot of pigment in them, they are going to stain. That doesn't mean that that ink is going to transfer to your projects. It just means that the polymers have picked it up. So I'm just checking to make sure that I've got all the ink up, and then we're going to come and put these back on the carrier sheet. So does anyone have any questions about any of the things that I have brought up hopefully this helps you with how you might think about stamping. Okay, so we're going to grab, let's take that piece off. We're going to grab our solid pieces now, and we are going to put these down into here. Now this is going to be a little bit different because we are actually going to, oops, I don't want that one, I want the solid. We're going to have to do, we're going to have to stamp off before we put our pieces in here. So this is going to be a slightly different technique to do that. So we just want to make sure that these guys are centered in our spaces and that we are centered in our corner here. So we're going to come down, we're going to press these, and we are going to need a piece of scratch paper. So I'm going to just cut a piece of scratch paper slightly smaller. And we're going to fit this into our piece here. We're going to cut this a little bit smaller. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to do this similar to what we would do normally. So we're going to, this needs to be just, I just want it to fit into that space and not be lipped to possibly create a problem. Okay, that should work. That should work just fine. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to do second generation stamping. And in order to do second generation stamping with a stamp platform, you still have to stamp off, but you don't have a block that you're working with. You are working with a stamping platform. So I can't put my pieces in, otherwise I'll get first generation. So we're just going to take our Berry Burst, and we are going to put that piece of scrap paper in, and we are going to stamp off. Then we are going to come in and we are going to put our pieces in again. And if all things work out the way that I think they will, we should get a nice second generation stamp here. If I can figure out how to put them in. There we go. Put them in here. So again, we've inked this, but we've done second generation, and now we're going to put the rest of the ink onto our flowers. And now we've got that really nice layered look in there. Now I'm a little bit off. I can tell I'm a little bit off, and I'm not sure why. So we're gonna see if I need to do a fix here, because I thought, nope, everything is off just a smidge. I think somehow something moved, it looks like. So let me just double check again. Okay, I think we're going to clean this off. We're going to reset them because I feel like things moved a little bit. And not that anyone is going to notice this but me, but again, I want to be as clean as I can when I'm making these things. So taking that extra little bit of time does make it worth it in just making sure that everything looks nice. So we're just going to reset this, make sure those are in, make sure I'm in my corner, and we'll pick that up. Okay, so let's do this again because we've got a couple more of these guys. Let's try again. See if our lining up is a little bit better. Oops, we don't want to put that in first. We want to do our stamping off first. So we're going to ink these guys up. Put in our scrap paper. Stamp off, lightly push down. That didn't get all of it off. We'll you'll have a little bit of a heavy spot there. Okay, we're going to do this again. We're going to push this down and we're going to re-ink this again. What I'm trying to make sure is that I've got an even stamp off, essentially. There, that looks better. Then we'll put in our pieces again. Like so. Like so. Okay, make sure we're in our corner. Come back. And that looks a little bit better. Still a little bit off, but I think it's better than the last time. Okay, so let's do the same thing with some of these blueberry bushel ones. So I'm not sure exactly why those are off, but we're gonna double check. Okay, so we're gonna clean up our stamp. Get the pink off. Just double check that we're lined up. I'm going to reset this guy because I feel like this guy is the one that's giving me the most problems for alignment, and I don't really know why. So we're going to reset that guy. Okay. Hopefully that time is better. Okay, so let's do blueberry bushel, and then we can move on to our next thing, which is putting some of this together. Okay, so let's get that lined in there correctly. I don't know that we'll do that many of these. I think we might just do maybe 2 of these. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put this down here. Again, we want to stamp off so that we can, oops, didn't get a lot of coverage on this guy. There we go. We want to stamp off, hopefully get an even stamp off. That looks okay. And then just double check that we're in our corner. And there we go. Yep, this guy's just not lining up right. Just gonna have to live with it. Okay, so I think we'll do one more and then we'll move on. You're just gonna have to live with it. Okay, so we'll put this guy in. The big one seems to be doing the best from a stamping perspective. But I still think from my perspective, for me, this is still going to be better than me trying to line these things up, because I am not very good at lining things up. Even through the block, even with the, the clear block, it's just something that I struggle with to get any of these stamps lined up when they're 2-step stamps like this. I do think that if you're doing this without a stamping platform, it's probably still easier to do the line stamp, the detailed stamp first, and then come back in and do the second generation of the solid stamp. All right, there we go. So we've got those guys here. All right. So the last thing we need to do from the stamping perspective on these, let me just clean this up, and we'll set this aside, is there are centers for these pieces. So there are itty bitty centers that are part of the stamp set here. So there's a larger center and a smaller center, and again, one is, I'm going to just get out a couple of smaller blocks. One is a detail and one is a solid. And so I'm going to just put these on, and then we're going to add these. So you just have to decide what color you want. And I think I'm going to go with the crushed curry for the centers. And I'm going to, again, do what I said, is I'm going to take the one that has the detail, and I'm going to do that one first. And then I'm going to take the one that's the solid and do that after as second generation. I don't even think I need the second generation on that, actually. I think I'm going to just take the small guy and just put that. I think there's enough detail there that you don't need the second generation. Again, I'm not being very precise here, as you can tell. Okay, so that one's done. So we'll see if we need, yeah, I don't know that you need that solid. I think it's only if you want the solid to be your center. I think the solid you can just use as a separate stamp. I don't think you need it when you're using that. Sorry, I just want to put some stuff away here. If you're using it for this application. Now I could come in, let me just see, should I come in and do centers on these guys? I'm not sure how that's going to look. Let's just take a look here. Because I got a bunch that I stamped earlier. I'm not sure how that yellow is going to look. Let's test that out. Let's test that out. I've got a piece here. I'm not sure if that crushed curry is going to look any good. Alrighty. Well, I don't know if I broke anything, but there we go. Welcome to my messy room. I'll have to find that other pen wherever that went, wherever that bounced off to. Okay, crushed curry. I just want to test this because I'm not sure if I'm going to like the color combination of doing this yellow. Not sure. I mean, I guess it's okay. I guess it's okay. I do feel like the centers need to have something. Some of these I did not stamp well, so we might not use them. But I do feel like the centers do need something in them and not having them be blank. Where am I missing? There's one. Okay. All right. All right, there's a few more over here. Oops, do I have two pieces together here? There we go. All right, and one more here. And then let's put that on that one. That on that one. Sorry if you're seeing my head. Just making sure I've got all of them done, because I'm not sure if we're going to use them all or not, but just having them all done will make it easier. That little bit of stamping actually kind of helps these ones that we don't have any other color. I don't know if this is going to show up on that one very well. Now that one's not. Okay, grab my chamois, clean that up. I do tend to push too hard on these stamp pads. Still, I keep learning. See, got stuff all over my fingers because I'm pressing too hard. I don't need to press that hard. They're very, very juicy. Okay, so that's all done. All that prep work is done. Now we've got just to do some assembly of our flowers with our layout. Okay, so I'm going to just take all of these and put these off to the side here. I think we got some fun colors going on. I do want to separate out by sizes though, because you always want to start with your largest size first and then work your way to your smallest sizes. So your smaller sizes are going to be your fillers, your larger sizes are going to be your statement pieces. So I am separating these out into piles that have the smallest to the biggest, and then we can decide how many of these we're actually going to use. And whatever we don't use, we'll just get put away for another time. Okay, so here we go. And let's just make sure we've got everything kind of in frame here. We're going to start our assembly. Okay, so let's go back to our sketch one more time. Here we go. Sorry, just trying to get everything so that you can see it. Okay, so again, we've got a cluster here, cluster here, cluster here. We're moving this cluster down here. So we're just going to start creating these clusters, starting with our larger pieces. So I'm going to take my larger pieces here and start laying them out. So I think that I want one of these. Like that. And then I'm going to come over here. Like so. And I'm just trying to balance the colors so that I'm using the same colors in each of the clusters so that they have a relationship to each other. I do like the darker color there. Okay. Okay, so I think I like that. I'm not sure if I'm going to use all three of these bigger flowers or not. We will see. Okay, so then we're going to bring in our smaller ones. So maybe what we'll do is we'll bring in this pink here. Maybe we'll bring in that one. Maybe we'll take this one off and we'll do this. I feel like we've got too much going on like that. And then down here, maybe we'll pull this guy and do that one. So this is just about what you like at this point, what looks good to you, how you're framing the pictures. If you have pictures, again, might be a little bit different for you because you have other colors that you're going to be potentially trying to put in here that are a little bit different than what I have here. So, you know, I'm just going off of the colors that I'm seeing in what I've cut out. Okay, so now I've got those clusters. We're going to bring in, I think we're going to bring in that guy. And put this one over here. I think I want this guy here. Maybe that one over there. And let's see, oops, I didn't put a center in that guy. Do like that one though, so maybe we'll put a center in that one. Okay, and then I've got some other flowers that were also part of this die set that I cut that didn't require any stamping. And there are actually a bunch of leaves or pieces like this. So bring these guys in, maybe as additional color. So let's grab this one. Sorry, I'm trying to get this to look good. Laying it out first kind of helps you eyeball where you need things. All right, so maybe I don't need anything else there, but I do feel like I need something here. So let's grab that guy and maybe this one here, like so. And then my other thing that I can bring in is a bunch of the leaves. So again, I die cut a bunch of leaves in different shades of green. And we can add in some leaves as well to give these flowers a little bit more depth. I think I like the darker colors versus the lighter colors. I like the darker greens. Oops, that guy's got a little bit lost. There we go. Let's see if we got some more darker greens here. Okay, and then down here we can add some darker greens as well. And then I think we've got some really good clusters of flowers and framing of the pictures. All right, so I'm just looking at it one last time, just seeing if there's anything that I would like to move or change. And I think other than bringing this down a little bit, I think that these clusters look really nice. So I'm going to start in this lower left-hand corner. And I'm not sure exactly. Usually I try to work from the bottom up, but there are certain things that I want to put up on foam tape and certain ones that I want to be underneath. So this one I need to find my dimensionals that actually have, where'd the dimensionals go? Did I use them all? I used a lot yesterday. Oh, there they are. Okay, so here's some dimensionals that are bigger. I'm going to use different size dimensionals. So we're going to put a dimensional on this flower here. And I'm not sure if I'm going to do that one. So I think I'll put a dimensional on this flower as well. And this one I'm going to leave flat. So we're going to pull this guy out and we're just going to put some adhesive here. We're going to slide that under. And then this leaf is also going to get some adhesive. And we're going to slide that under. Then I think we're going to take this flower and overlap. Again, you don't need very much adhesive here. So one dimensional is going to be perfectly fine on these flowers. Okay, so then we're going to stick that leaf, I think we'll do down here, like so. And then we've got this leaf here. Okay, so then we're going to put this guy in because this is big. I've got a piece of washi tape on here that I want to see if I can get off. There we go. So this is a little bit hard. This guy is a little skinny guy. So gotta be careful that I don't damage it too much. So trying to get this stuck down here like that. Put the leaf there. And then I need to move this a little bit more. It's too angled. I need it a little straighter. Need it a little bit straighter still. Okay, I think that works. Do I want to pop that up? I might want to pop this guy up. Let's pop this one up. Again, I'm using the smaller dimensionals on this one. And I am putting it in 3 spots just to make sure that it will stay up because it's a longer piece. And we'll add this, actually come down a little bit like that. And this one I'm going to put on a dimensional as well, a little dimensional, 2 of those. Again, because I'm going to overlap the picture with this one. Like so. And then I'm going to decide, do I want this other flower here? Yeah, I think we can do that. So let's add, I'm going to leave this one flat. We'll slide this guy in. And get our other leaf in there, like so. Okay, and then we just have to put this last one down. And we've got a nice frame for this photo and a nice filler for this corner. Okay, so now we're going to go up here to the top and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to work from our bigger pieces to our smaller pieces and make sure that we have them the way we want them. Okay, so I'm going to start with this guy and I'm going to put this one flat. I'm actually going to come over just a smidge more. My title is supposed to go up here, so I need to make sure that I'm keeping that in mind where I'm putting my embellishments here, since I don't have my title on yet. All right, so this one I think we'll put up on, again, just moving some of these pieces out of the way. I think I'll put that one. Just trying to decide how far over I want to come with this one. I think I want to come over here. And then this guy. I think I want to put here. This one over here. Okay, and then we're going to pop this one up on the dimensional. And I'm going to grab a different one of these that actually has a center on it. I'll put that on a dimensional. That, and then let's put a couple of leaves down in this corner. I will say this is probably the thing that I am the least good at, is embellishment clusters. For some reason they're a challenge of mine that I haven't been able to haven't been able to really meet as far as the challenges go. It's yeah, it's definitely not my strong suit. I see people who are really, really good at doing embellishments, and I am not one of them. Okay, I think I'm going to leave this just like that. I'm not going to put this extra leaf in because I'm not seeing a good place to put it. Okay, so now we have one more cluster that we need to do, which is this cluster over here. And I'm going to start with these longer pieces first on this side, because I want to get them in a place that makes sense first before I layer everything else. So I'm going to go ahead, because I want them to show as higher, but I don't want them to be so high that they feel out of place with this piece. So we're going to just make sure that this feels right. We want different levels. That's going to help us with our composition as well. So that is also an important thing to think about, is having multiple levels. I'm just trying to get underneath this piece here. Okay, so I think that works. I am going to pop again those up on dimensionals for more height. Oops, got one stuck to my finger. Okay, so we'll pop these guys up. And then the last thing we have to do on this layout is figure out the title we want for it. And I think I'm going to hold off on the title on this one, because I could go lots of different ways, but I don't know what pictures I'm going to use. And I almost feel like with this particular layout, I could figure out a generic title, but I would like to have my pictures and have that be a much more specific title. The other layouts that I did yesterday had more of a theme to them. And so one's, an ocean theme, and one was the bee theme, the honeycomb. And so I felt like I could, really put a good title on it. But this one I think is a lot more generic, and I want to maybe be a little bit more thoughtful on my title when I actually come to putting a title on this one. Okay, so we're going to start with this flower here. And okay, we're going to put this one down flat. Remember, you're going to start with your big ones first. And then you can move to your next size. So then we're going to grab this guy. We're going to put this up on a dimensional. Like so. And let's see. Let's fill in here. And let's fill in here. I do have some smaller flowers that were also part of this. Oh, we're losing a light again. Maybe we'll add a few of these in as our last little embellishment. I did cut a whole bunch of these guys. These are kind of acting like the jewels or the extra little bobs that you might put on a layout as well. Let's see, maybe come down here with a couple. Again, threes tend to work best. Our eye likes the symmetry of threes, which is interesting. That that an odd number is something the eye actually looks for, but that is a rule of art that you can follow, is that if you put something down, you want to do 3 of that thing, because that is something that the eye likes. So if you hadn't heard that or you didn't know about that. Okay, so these guys are little itty bitty things, so we're gonna do our best to get those down on the page. I do think that these actually add that little bit that's really missing from this layout, putting up some of these little guys. And then we're going to call this layout done. And I'm sure that I am over an hour. Oh, we're right at an hour. We spent a lot of time die cutting and stamping in this particular layout. Since we had already laid out the pieces yesterday, this was really an embellishment session, I think. Oops, that guy didn't stay down. There we go. I could use liquid glue for this, but I do find that that's even more messy for me. So I like just using plain old Tombow. Again, these are going to go in an actual, in a page protector, so I'm not going to really have too many people messing with it. Once it's the glue sort of sets, it's gonna be there. All right, so as I finish this up, if there's any questions, feel free to ask them about this layout or the others. I actually think I'm going to take the 3.5 hour session that we did yesterday, and I think I'm going to see if I can pull it down from YouTube and separate it out into hour sessions or by layout. I have to see if that's possible. I'm not sure if it is or not, but I'm going to see if that's possible, because I don't think anyone wants to sit and watch 3 hours or even, you know, try and jump around. It'll be a whole lot easier if it's just in hour blocks. Okay, so I think we are done. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. So we do have, again, our flower clusters now down, and we've got our strips. There is space to still put a title on this side. There is space even if you want to do a title that's going to carry across. That will also work. We've got a couple beautiful flower clusters on that side, and I think we have a really fun flower layout for those of you who maybe have a lot of those spring pictures. So again, this was part of the new catalog, Impressions of Bloom, and the Floral Impressions paper that goes live in a couple of days. Everything that is in the catalog that's still available from the old catalog will be in the last chance section if it is not carrying over into the new catalog. Prices for cardstock go up on January 6th, so if there's anything that you wanted from a cardstock perspective, you might want to think about getting that before before May 6th. So cardstock prices go up. And other than that, I think that's it. I think we're done. So hopefully you got a couple of good tips about stamping and die cutting that will help you in the future and create more of an assembly line process for you. And I hope to see you. I should be back next week. I'm not sure what I'm going to make next week. I'll probably look for something that I can do maybe around some of the newer products, but we shall see. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your Sunday, and I will see you next time.